Hi everyone, welcome to this year's All About Filing US Taxes from Abroad in 2024 for tax year 2023. Of course, as you wait for everything to get started, feel free to join our Facebook group linked below. And if you have questions after this webinar that were not covered or you just don't want to ask them right now, you can always join our Facebook group and it's a very lively conversation there. And if you have questions, most of the questions that, need a little bit more research, so to say, will get thrown back to me or my tax team so we can answer them for you. So please don't be shy and let us know what your questions are. So who am I? You probably know me by now, but I'm Nathalie Goldstein, CEO of MyExpatTaxes from California, based in Vienna, Austria. And I'm just like you, filing my US taxes and trying to make it as simple as possible, but also trying to know what is the best way to optimize my financial situation, right? What's the best way to file taxes so I get the highest refund or I pay the lowest taxes? So thanks for tuning in and let's see what's changed for this year. So basically we have a couple more tax savings, some refund increases, and of course, there's the basics of just how to file taxes from abroad. So what you're all interested in, what has gone more or increased that is better for us as expats? So the main things are that the standard deduction, of course, has increased due to inflation. It's about $900 more per filing status. Tax brackets are, continuing to increase. Even though the rates are the same, it just means that more income is taxed at a lower tax bracket than before. And the annual foreign earned income exclusion threshold is higher now, so by 8K. So it used to be $112,000 US for tax year 2022. Now it's $120,000 US. So that just means you can exclude more of your foreign earned income from US taxation. So great for high earners. And the refundable or additional child tax credit also increased. So that is one I did not see coming because everything else is normal. Everything else usually happens due to inflation. But what I did not expect is for the refundable child tax credit to increase again. So in tax year 2020, it increased from $1,400 to $1,500. And that was already amazing. And now it's increased even further to $1,600. So again, if you have children under the age of 17 with a valid social security number and you can opt out of using the foreign earned income exclusion, I would highly recommend it because that's a pretty nice refund per child. And what other things do we have to note for this tax year, right? So IRA contributions have also increased, right? They are now $6,500 or $7,500 for those over 50 annually. So if you're looking to make IRA contributions, always great that you can contribute even more to these tax favorable accounts. And additional exceptions have also been added in relations to IRA distribution. So normally if you had, taken out money from your IRA too early, you would get a 10% tax imposed immediately. There are two new exceptions that have been added to the list, the ever-growing list of exceptions, right? Those two new exceptions is that if it's in made connection with a US federally declared disaster, probably not so relevant for expats, but maybe it is. And if it's made to someone who's terminally ill. So that's a very nice, additional tax benefit if you do have to take out an early distribution and you can get out of that 10%, additional tax. There's also a clean vehicle credit that is new. It's on form A936, but please don't ask us too much about that because it is for those living in the US. So we, every time there's a new credit, especially for clean vehicles or clean energy, we get a lot of people asking to use those credits, but it's mostly limited to those actually living in the US. So if you're an expat, it doesn't really apply to you, I'm sorry. But something worth to note in case you move back to the US. Now, I think this is probably the most important thing to remember if you have not been filing annually. If you're not filing, if you've just been watching these webinars, thinking about when to start filing, this is the year. This is the year to start filing because if you have not claimed all of your stimulus payments, right? If you have not claimed round 1 through 3, this is the last year to claim it. There is a 3-year window to claim refunds from the IRS, and now we are in year 3. So if you want the $3,200 of stimulus payments, you need to start filing your tax returns ASAP. So you basically have until June 15th of this year, 2024, to claim all 3 stimulus payments if you want it. So we highly recommend it, and we have the streamlining filing procedure for anyone that has not been filing annually. It's an amnesty program that will help you get caught up with the IRS and claim all your stimulus payments. And as you've probably all heard in the news, the IRS has a new direct free file program. And that is amazing because it really needs to be simpler to file taxes. I mean, that is why MyExpatTaxes came to be around, because there was no good online way to do it. However, unfortunately for this next tax year, it is limited to people living in the US only, and it's not supportive of international income. So obviously we're tracking it to see if there'll be any changes, but from what we have seen so far, it's very limited to a couple US states and for more simple situations, AKA being an expat to the IRS is not very simple. So as I mentioned, the standard deduction has increased. So you will see that table here on the slide in front of you. If you're single, it's $13,850. Just keep in mind the single standard deduction is the same as the married filing separately standard deduction. It's just that right here is the filing thresholds, right? Which are normally the same except for married filing separately, which is still, if you make over $5, you have to file a US tax return. So basically, if you're a US citizen, you're a green card holder, if you pass the filing requirements, which is you have worldwide income over your filing threshold, which is again, normally your standard deduction, except for married filing separately, which is only $5, you need to file a US tax return, regardless of your age. If you're younger, if you're a dependent or a child, so under 24 of someone, there might be other filing requirements that are not listed here, so just keep that in mind. But generally, if you pass these filing thresholds, you'll have to file a US tax return. And if you're self-employed, you have to file one if you have over $400 in net self-employment profit, because you might be subject to US self-employment tax. Now again, like I said, I won't go over it again, but if you need to get all 3 stimulus payments, this is the year. Make sure to file ASAP with the streamlining procedure. And the deadlines for this tax year are pretty in line. It's April 15th, 2024 for all payments. June 17th if you're filing from abroad. But again, if you have to pay taxes, make sure to pay by April 15th because that's only for the filing deadline. You can extend by June 15th to October 15th. You can do that easily with MyExpatTaxes. And if you have back taxes, obviously do it ASAP, because if you have tax owed, those interest and penalties are accruing daily. If you want more information, if you just want to hear more about tax, you know where to find us. Otherwise, please let us know what questions you have at the end of this webinar. So now we'll just go over kind of the normal daily stuff that has not changed, and it will be more of the taxes 101 and just basics on how to file. Thank you very much.